Alright guys, so a little while ago we did a video on my two other lifting shoes. I had my Chuck Taylors for deadlifting, nice flat sole, old school design. And then kind of a Nike Free pair from years back that I still use as kind of an all-around, very basic lifting shoe for upper body, that kind of thing. This is the third shoe that I have. This is a very standard lifting shoe. You can tell because it has the heel lift there. And then Velcro is pretty common, and otherwise a very basic shoe. The thing about lifting shoes, if you don't know, is that they are very rigid. It takes a lot to really bend that sole, whereas a running shoe, you could fold it in half on itself. You want that rigidity when you're lifting for a number of reasons, but namely the stability. You don't want anything below your feet moving around when you have heavy weight above your head. This is kind of a typical shoe for your O lifting, your snatch and clean and jerk, that kind of thing. I use it predominantly for front squats. The heel lift here does help to give you a much more stable base when you're lifting. And if you've worn something like this before, you'll know what I mean. It really does have an impact on how you feel and the stability in your ankle, knee, and hip. Just by having that little heel lift, and then again the very solid, rigid sole. Now the one thing to note though is that because this has a heel lift, it's helping you squat deeper. You're kind of cheating it in a sense. It's not a bad thing per se, because it's very narrow, but it's the same reasoning that we oftentimes coach people to put like a 5-pound weight plate under the heel if you're squatting, whether with weight or without, just because it helps to overcome and kind of, move around any ankle mobility dysfunction you might have. So if your ankle can't effectively get the flexion and extension that you need, or the flexion rather, you can kind of fake it by having your heel above the floor, right? So this is your artificial floor, is the top of this heel lift. And again, not a big problem. It's something pretty minor, but I do think that if you are trying to be a really good mover, you shouldn't count on these shoes as a handicap, because obviously if you don't have the shoes, you won't have that capability. And so it makes a lot of sense to look at your ankle mobility and flexion capability on its own and address those issues if you can before you start to go towards shoes. But again, the thing here is this really does have an impact on front squats. I think it's a great way to lift, and it just feels a lot better personally. I can still lift flat sole or barefoot without them, but I would much rather prefer to wear these. Just a more enjoyable lifting experience for me personally. That's my take. So that is a lifting shoe. That is my my third shoe that I own, and it's a little bit beaten up. Looks pretty good anymore, and I imagine I'll have it for a lot longer. What's your go-to lifting shoe? Are there brands that you like? I know that it's kind of tough to find an affordable pair. I think this was maybe $80 back in the day when I bought it. Call it like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago actually. It's been a while. But held up pretty good, and Velcro on shoes, just kind of a fun, nostalgic thing. All right, don't forget to subscribe. More good stuff coming, and we'll see you guys soon.